Track golfer, I do want to bring this up because I saw this and I'm like, this is actually a pretty good idea. Bryson should go caddy for someone if he wants to be part of the team. How funny would that be? And I don't know if the PGA Tour would have allowed it, but that would have been pretty impressive if somebody on the team was like, hey, caddy, take a week off. Bryson's going to caddy for me. And Bryson was actually game for going out there and caddying for one of his team members. I think that would actually build a lot of team camaraderie right there. And it would lead to some great content too, because he could film everything afterwards. Obviously, you can't do that at the event. PGA Tour bans that. But he could film everything afterwards and around the team and everything along those lines. I think that actually would have been a pretty good content idea.
So, not really sure how that fits in, but, you know, I mean...
Goes to your great coaching, though. I mean...
Except for the fact that he sprayed it all over the place, but I guess he sprayed it not too bad. But his short game was unbelievable that week as well. But yeah, it's always in good shape, but it's also in Napa. So I mean, you go up there. It's a tragedy.
Going to the French Laundry. Yeah, the guys are drinking wine.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why it's okay that the entire U.S. team was required to play the tournament, because they're all like, okay, most of us are married now.
Welcome back, everybody, to Pull Hook Golf, the podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cook. Tonight, we've got our co-host, Mr. Brent Grant, back on the program. As most of you, if you have been following this podcast, Brent has been on quite a bit on this program as our tour insider. And more recently, he's been absolutely grinding, getting back into gear when it comes to professional golf. And so he's been playing a lot in regards to mini tour events like the Asher Tour, in preparation for leading up to the Q School for the PGA Tour, and in hopes to regain his card and to get back onto the PGA Tour in 2026. So he's going to be having a little bit of a countdown that's been going on social media. So make sure to take a look at his account on Instagram. I imagine you are on Instagram, if that's the place where you're posting all of the content, right?
Yep. Don't have anything else.
Very good. Now, it makes it simple for the listeners to be able to go on there and catch you. What's your handle on Instagram?
Brent Grant Golf. So Brent_Grant Golf.
And if you're seeing this content as well, you can absolutely, there will be the information for Brent down at the bottom. He will be invited as a collaborator on our reels for this episode. So make sure to go follow Mr. Brent Grant, follow that journey and his way back onto the PGA Tour. We've got Isa F over there. Evening, partners. Evening to you as well. We've got a great show here tonight. It's the 2025 Ryder Cup pre-preview show. So we're going to be talking a bit about Silverado. We're going to be talking about the Ryder Cup, some of the comments that Bryson DeChambeau made. And that should wrap up a nice little episode here this evening. But before we do begin, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsors. First of all, Devereux Golf, folks. Go over to DevereuxGolf.com. Utilize the promo code PullHookGolf20 at checkout for 20% off your entire order. And as you can see, I am rocking the Johnny Walker Devereux Golf. They came out with another collab, and my goodness gracious, the hats are up on top of the shelf. You might not be able to see them, but there's a blue Johnny Walker one, and then there is a New York City style subway one up in this corner. It's tough to do that when the screen's behind you, but that being said, 20% off for our audience members. It also goes to support the podcast in addition to that. So any purchases made over at Devereux Golf, and yes, this is a fire polo. And it's like a topography where it looks like it's a golf course that is mapped out on the polo. We've got the navy blue collar, the Devereux skull, and then obviously Johnny Walker. And then on the back, there's actually a little raised logo that says "Keep Walking." Which is absolutely fire as well. So love that. Thank you to the guys over at Devereux Golf for hooking up the collab for me. And yeah, get that 20% off. Also, Rokform, and I've been noticing that quite a few of you have started purchasing good old Rokform. Brent's got Mr. America phone case there by Rokform. I always tout and really speak about the G-Rock speaker. My goodness, 24-hour battery life. You never really have to charge that dang thing. At least it doesn't feel that way. I use it all the time. It sticks to the cart. It is just a fire in terms of a speaker. Great quality, but you can utilize the promo code PULLHOOK2025 at checkout for, once again, 20% off your order over there at rockform.com. Shout out to Stark Health with my 5 a.m. comeback, as well as Jones Golf for hooking me up with the gear that I need in order to carry my clubs. So that's always an important one as well. But folks, let's get into this episode. Let's talk a little bit of this Ryder Cup scenario that is coming up. So Mr. Brent Grant, I mean, you've been on this program numerous times. You know how this goes. And the first question that I got for you, good sir, is who is going to win the Ryder Cup this year at Bethpage Black? Who you got?
Oh, man, I think we're going to get our asses absolutely whipped this year.
Wow. That is shocking. And I happen to be wearing like the yellow and blue that kind of, I just realized, because the other Johnny Walker Devereux shirt that I have, the polo, is like a navy blue with kind of red. So clearly that's Europe versus the United States. So I'm playing into it, but why do you think that? I mean, is it just the camaraderie of the European team? Does Bethpage just happen to play well for them? I mean, talk to us a little bit about why you say that.
So obviously the team is all but one player exactly the same. I mean, technically they look the same because Rasmus and his brother are identical twins, and their games really aren't too dissimilar. But I would say ultimately what it comes down to is the fact that you have, I personally believe you have too many young guys on this Ryder Cup team that are not what you would call seasoned in the fire of competitive, like hyper competitive, hyper pressure packed golf. That's not to say they're not incredible players, because obviously they are. But the European squad is full of guys that have been playing great golf all year long. And they're coming off, I mean, at the end of the day, they're the exact same team by the exact same captain. So there's not really going to be a whole lot of extra details that Keegan is going to have to put up with. And so I think it's going to be easier for them to be more of a team, play better as a team, and not to mention the fact that half the squad is pretty pissed off that Scotty's been kicking their ass all year long. So they're all ready to go. But I mean, Tommy's been playing well, Ludwig's been playing well. So I look forward to it. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see the U.S. team doing too well.
So let's talk a little bit about Keegan Bradley as the captain of Team America or Team USA. And did you agree with him not picking himself and remaining just as the captain?
I think it showed an enormous amount of humility and grace to turn himself down. I mean, because that's essentially what it comes down to. He could have made the executive decision. That's why they call him captain's picks. And he could have played. And there's nothing statistically that you could say, well, he hasn't been playing. No, he's been playing great. And certainly better than probably the bottom 4 or 5 guys. But that's just, that leaves out the fact that Keegan is the type of person that is going to put the team's needs above himself. And that's something that a true leader does. And so it gives me a lot of hope, and it shows that he's willing to make the hard choices. So I hope it does fill the I mean, if I was in that locker room, I would be absolutely charged up to go play for this guy, because I know he's willing to put it on the line for me.
So as we talk about that, some of the first timers for the U.S., How do you think they're going to perform at a golf course like Bethpage Black under this type of rowdiness that's going to go on? Do you think it's going to calm them down being on home territory, or is that something that could ruffle the feathers a little bit for some of these guys for the first time?
Yeah, it's tough. Obviously living in Phoenix like we hear a lot of stories about Spawn, and we've known, I've known of him, and I've known him for a few years now. And, I played on the Korn Ferry Tour with Ben Griffin. Obviously I played on the tour, so I know all of those guys that are on the team. It just doesn't seem like they're the type of guys to go out there, and at least the first timers, that is, aside from maybe Henley, to go out there and to get punched in the mouth and punch back even harder. They don't seem like the type of guys that, if they're down, let's say it's 6-2, like what is it, 12? How many points are on the first day? It's like 8 points, right? I think something like that. So let's say they're down 6-2 after the first day, or whatever it ends up breaking down as. I just don't see them coming back after being punched in the mouth. And that's kind of what you need. I mean, the scrappiness is what the Europeans have always had. So that's why they're able to go into these different environments and play just fine.
Now, I know I asked you whether or not you felt like Keegan made the right decision. However, and yes, I totally understand the angle that it could pump up the players, make them feel even more, part of this team with Keegan and everything. But given Keegan's experience and the fieriness of a Keegan Bradley out there on the golf course, and he was playing, I mean, he did finish in the top 12 of guys. So it wouldn't have been like he picked himself outside of the ranks that would have been considered for the Ryder Cup. So talk to me a little bit about whether or not you think that the team would have been better with him in there versus one of these first-time guys.
Yeah, it's, again, just strictly off the top, he said from the beginning that if you're outside the top 12, don't expect to get a spot. And I'm pretty sure there's at least one guy on that list that got a spot that has not played good golf in quite a while.
Who's that?
Regardless of whether or not he's the quote-unquote best putter on planet Earth, which I don't even remotely
Who
understand.
Are you referring to?
Sam Burns does not belong on the Ryder Cup
team. Do you think Scotty Scheffler might have had a little say in Sam Burns being on the team?
100%. So the way it broke down last time for Paris, I mean, not to mention the fact that I talked to a buddy of mine that was kind of close in and around the group of guys that went over to Paris. And it was like they were so disorganized. They didn't know what they were doing. Scotty and Brooks didn't even know that they were playing together until like 2 hours before their match, and all kinds of stuff like that. So the hope is that Keegan, with his experience, is able to dial those things in. However, if you're not playing well going into the Ryder Cup, I don't see all of a sudden just breaking out and going, oh, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and dominate. Because the guys that were the dominating players, 5, 10, 15 years ago, they don't exist anymore. That talent pool is much, much, much smaller now. I mean, even Patrick Cantlay, I'm not even sure how he made it inside the top 30. I never saw his name one time all year long. I mean, it shows you how bad the PGA Tour coverage is if you have a guy that's in the top 30 you don't see him all year. But that's neither here nor there. But I just think that it's full. The bottom half of the team are not guys that I would ever depend on in a pinch. Keegan, I would 100% depend on in a pinch. I mean, the stories that Pepsi told me about the Ryder Cup playing with Phil, just that one Ryder Cup alone would be enough to fill somebody's career with enough experience to be able to play great. And he has. I mean, he's obviously been playing well the last few years. But yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's a good old boys club. So, I mean, I'm sure Scotty had something to do with it.
Now, let's talk a little bit of the European side that you do believe are going to take this W in New York State, in Long Island, out at Bethpage Black, which is a beast of a golf course. Everybody who is a golf aficionado knows the sign that sits out there that is a warning to golfers that the black course is an extremely difficult golf course. So talk to me. All right. I know you may not have had a ton of experience out at Bethpage. I can probably speak to it a little bit better being a New Yorker and playing out there numerous times. And that was one of my go-to golf courses that if I was losing money matches, you better believe you're going to play me out at Bethpage Black, because that I felt like I had a big advantage over a lot of guys out there playing that golf course. So to me, there is definitely an angle for the type of player that is going to play well there. And it's not necessarily somebody that putts extremely well. So talk to me. Who do you like on the European team that you really think is going to stand out?
Well, let's see. So we've got Fleetwood, obviously, right off the top. I mean, unbelievable ball striker. He's riding high. He's been playing great. And he does play well in the Ryder Cup. I mean, he's just as much of a fiery guy as anybody out there. And the simple fact that, I mean, he's played the best out of everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean,
outside of Scotty Scheffler.
I mean, in the last 4 events that he's played, he's got 2 or 3 seconds and a win. So yeah, I mean, definitely trending. And then we'll see what Rory shows up. Obviously,
well, Rory just won over on the DP World Tour, won the Irish
Open.
Open.
The Irish Open, won his own home event. So obviously he's got a little fire in him, which is great. It's definitely not bad for the game of golf to have Rory McIlroy playing well. And I mean, we've seen it for a decade now. Rory McIlroy is by far one of the best players to play in the Ryder Cup for a number of reasons. And well, yeah, see, so the Trot Golf says the Euros will probably have to get 4 points on set. It's already over. Yeah, that's pretty bad. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how that ends up breaking down. It sounds like a complete beatdown. But yeah, I mean, so, and then let's see, who else do we have? We have Sepp. You got the list there, Maddie? Ryder Cup, Euro team. Let's see.
Oh, I can pull it up for you.
Here we go.
Sorry, I was looking at the comments here. We got Aussie chiming in with don't count your chickens, Trot. And he says Rory is in form right now. So
we've got let's see. So the automatic qualifiers were Rory, McIntyre, Fleetwood, Rose, Højgaard, Rasmus Højgaard, Tyrrell Hatton. Captain's picks was Rahm, Lowry, Oberg, Fitzpatrick, Dude, I mean, that team is stacked. I mean, that's an unbelievable squad. I mean, you can't look. I mean, maybe you look at Sepp Straka and go, maybe not, but he's played great. Patrick, another grinder. Ludwig Oberg is probably I mean, he's the most consistent player for sure. And then, I mean, Shane Lowry and Jon Rahm, I mean, those 2 guys alone are enough to get anybody charged up to go play golf. So, I mean, it's so hard because, I mean, you look at best ball and all you really like. I mean, you tell me at Bethpage, obviously you got to hit it long and straight, which is important.
But most of those guys do. So like,
yeah.
The length conversation so many times has backfired because it used to be where guys that hit it shorter couldn't necessarily play on some of these bigger golf courses. Now every golf course is 7,500 yards, it feels like, on the PGA Tour. So these guys that are hitting, but they hit these low missiles, like a Colin Morikawa hits a low missile, right? In order to get it out there, gets tons of roll, which you could certainly get that at Bethpage Black. So I do think that's going to become a little bit moot of a point. But what I don't think is that the short game is going to come in nearly as much because they're subtle breaks. They're relatively flat greens at Bethpage Black. Okay. And with that, when you have more of flat greens with subtle breaks, those are tough to read. So you got to have guys that can see those subtle breaks, hit those putts. And ultimately, it's all about hitting greens, hitting fairways and greens out there at Bethpage. Because if you're missing the fairways, you're probably going to have a tough day. And that's
I mean, that's everything I've read. I looked at Google Earth the other day, and I looked at course reviews and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's the type of golf course where Russell Henley would win by like 6. because he would just go out there. He would go out there,
You think
hit
so?
every fair. Oh, he's such a he dominates those courses where the greens are sort of flat because I mean, I think almost all of his wins have been on courses like that. I mean, the one where he won in Mexico, greens were really not all that undulating. He won Waialae by a million. But he's also but also at the same time, you go on the other side and you're like, okay, so pretty much everybody on that team, on the Euro team, anyways, is really really good when the golf courses are difficult. The courses that are wide and undulating and great for the long player, not necessarily the greatest for the European Tour players, but these U.S. Open style. I mean, not even a U.S. Open style. It is a U.S. Open course.
It's pretty much a U.S.
Probably,
Open course
yeah,
all the way throughout the entire year.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, and I think they're going to have one here soon, but which would be amazing. But yeah, I mean, it's tight. It's long rough. If it rains, it's going to be into the advantage of the European players, absolutely. And at the end of the day, it's going to be who can hit it the best. And if their partners putt well, they win. If they don't,
You know what? It's
they
like a
don't.
pendulum. It
Yeah.
swings back and forth, where for the longest time, the U.S. on paper was always the best, right?
And they
Now
got
you
killed.
kind of look at it on paper and you're like, shoot, the European team looks to be the stronger club on paper. And they have the camaraderie and so forth. I mean, I'm just even looking at what a ballsy play by Luke Donald to have a captain's pick be Jon Rahm, right? Now, the DP World Tour has gotten a little bit closer to LIV Golf in a lot of ways, where a lot of those guys go over there and play.
As they
So
should.
that isn't super shocking. Whereas, clearly the U.S. did not make any picks outside of the automatic guys who qualified to get in, aka Bryson DeChambeau. But were you surprised at all that Luke Donald was tapped good old Jon Rahm and was like, hey, I want you to come over and play on the European team this year, as well as, Terrell Hatton qualified.
Mhm.
So
He's played great this year.
yeah. So I was kind of expecting him to be the only one, but Jon Rahm getting in. I love that for John. What do you think about the pick from Luke Donald to go with a LIV Golf guy and bring him into the fold? Think it's a big deal or no?
No, I think the guys that I talked to that were European that I talked to about the LIV, they were like, listen, you just go make your money. They don't care. There were obviously the issues locally for certain players, but that is what it is. It's all politics. So for them, they don't care. It's about winning, and that's it. I mean, the fact that Luke Donald was the captain shows you that the European squad, the European conglomerate, whoever chooses that, was like, yeah, we're gonna do the same thing we did last year. So it's like, and what's incredible is that while Paris was not, that golf course was a little weird, is a little quirky. Obviously, they had the French Open there. So I'm sorry, no, that was Rome, not Paris.
Yep.
Yep, I'm sorry, you're right. That was Furyk and gosh, I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Anyways, Rome was a kind of tight, narrow, kind of whatever golf course, and they had multiple European Tour events there. But yeah, it's not surprising at all. And honestly, if anybody looks at Jon Rahm and says, yeah, he's not going to play well in the Ryder Cup, they're absolutely out of their mind.
Well,
He's
and it's a
gonna play
golf
great.
course that plays right to Jon Rahm's strengths,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And it's like, man, if he gets the ball in the green, he's a guy that makes a lot of putts when there's subtle
Yeah.
breaks to the greens
100%.
and longer putts. So
Torrey
Jon
Pines.
Rahm, I really think was a home run pick for Luke Donald. That was kind of a no-brainer in a lot of ways. And you raise a very good point as well around how the European side, there's not as much drama with LIV Golf. It's like it was more of a US based deal because the funding coming from the Saudis. And so that whole thing really got blown out of proportion, in my opinion, to where that isn't even what bothers me with LIV Golf. It never really did. But let's move on from that for a second because this is going to stay within the LIV Golf world. But let's move on to the US side of it with Bryson DeChambeau. And Bryson DeChambeau, a week or two ago, came out with some comments. in regards to he was very bitter that he couldn't play Silverado this week since the entire United States team is playing and he feels like an outsider. And he made the comments around how LIV Golf was going to let me play. PGA Tour decided not to let me play. They've banned me from this event. Like, look at them. They're terrible. So I want to ask you, I mean, he made his own bet originally. He knew he was going to be suspended. You really think that the Ryder Cup was going to sway the PGA Tour? And you made a good point before we came on air that the Ryder Cup isn't even run by the PGA Tour. Why in the world would they even care to allow him to play if he's already suspended? So talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's owned by the PGA of America, and so they're going to do whatever they want to do. And I mean, granted, yes, does it add a little bit of spice to the conversation? Sure, but that's Bryson. I mean, he's a child, and he always will be. And I love him. He's always been nice to me. We have multiple mutual friends. I'm super pumped for his success. I'm really happy for him, but what comes along with being a social media activist, if you will, is you get sucked into the world of me all the time. Bryson is in no position whatsoever to look at the PGA Tour and say, I can't believe they're going to do this to me. Like, dude, they told you to take your YouTube channel down in 2020 during COVID, and you did. And then when you decided to say it's a business decision, when you took the $500 million, which again, that is what it is. But if I had that, like, if you're talking about that kind of money, why does it matter? But anyways, and then you decide that you're going to trash them by suing the PGA Tour, and you're going to be surprised or make it a big, it just shows that the YouTube golf stuff is all fake. Every single bit of it is scaled, and it's boxed in to make a product that the sheep will just consume and say, oh my gosh, this is something. I watched Good the other day for the first time.
What'd you think?
Guess what I saw?
What'd you see?
So you're panning this way. Let's say the camera is focused on chest high, right? And then as you back up, it kind of pans and kind of looks head to toe. Well, there's a ball at, I don't even know who the guy's name was, at this guy's feet, and it's buried, but you can see the ball. He brings his foot right up to the ball, and you hear click, and as you hear click, the camera pans up back to his face, and then all of a sudden they start looking around. So he literally foot wedges it in the middle of a YouTube match or whatever with Xander or Grant Horvat. But the point is it's all fake anyways. So Bryson is kind of fed into that. And the problem for him is that he's going to enter into a place where all of these players have pretty much solidified their careers for the next 5 to 10 years. And certainly the PGA Tour will continue to make rules to make that a reality. And so he's absolutely an outsider, but it's not because of what the PGA Tour did. It's because of what he did.
Agreed. And it's one of those to where it's like, hey, there's going to be consequences. You knew it when you took the money, and don't be upset about it now, even though it's years later. And like, I get it. You want to be a part of this with the U.S. team. However, you made your bet. And as I believe Trot said, he's hitting ping pong balls. He will be fine. So
yeah, exactly.
he's creating content. And here's the thing, like, a young generation loves Bryson DeChambeau right now. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because it's growing the game of golf. It is what it is. It's entertainment, right?
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
not. The one thing I will say, though, is that all of a sudden these creators have started getting good at golf, and they actually played in that Creator Classic, and they're not doing terribly. And people are no longer interested. Like, all I see are posts that say, Creator Classic, great idea, but terrible like execution, and it just doesn't work anymore and all this. And I think it's only like 3 years in to this whole entire thing, but I feel like guys have gotten too good to where it's like they're shooting around average par, and people don't want to see that. People want to see the hack that's going out there embarrassing themselves. And I think a lot of the traction early on were people that were happy to see them get embarrassed out there on camera. So I think that also plays into a part of that. But getting to Silverado this week, where this is a golf course that you are familiar with, you have played this track. Talk to us about this golf course. Why do you like it? What does it actually bring out in a golfer?
Yeah, so it's one of the only courses that kind of makes you hit all the shots. It's not a long course, but you have a lot of holes that bend right to left, and you got a few that bend left to right. But what's really odd about the course is that if you can hit a solid draw, like a 10 to 15 yard draw that goes about 290 to 300, it's perfect. If you're the type of guy that maybe hits it a little too far, and maybe you get a little bit sideways, it doesn't really work out. But if you hit it short enough, it's also perfect for you because you can kind of stay in between all the trouble. Now, Sahith last year, somewhat, or actually it was 2023 rather, I gave him a driving lesson, and then he goes out and sprays it everywhere and wins the golf tournament somehow. So not really sure how that fits in, but I mean,
Goes to your great coaching though. I mean,
except for the fact that he sprayed it all over the place, but I guess he sprayed it not too bad. But his short game was unbelievable that week as well. But yeah, it's always in good shape, but it's also in Napa. So I mean, you go up there. It's a tragedy.
Going to the French Laundry. Yeah, the guys are drinking wine.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why it's okay that the entire U.S. team was required to play the tournament, because they're all like, okay, most of us are married now. We probably would have taken some heat if we didn't go. So it's like it all just works out for them anyway.
It's a little team bonding, you know what I mean?
Yeah, bond.
It's more for camaraderie rather than a grinding over a golf tournament.
Exactly.
You also, like, looking at it, like Max Homa's won there multiple years. And it's just, overall, it's a great golf tournament in a great part of the country.
Exactly.
If anybody hasn't been up to Napa Valley and Sonoma and gone wine tasting and so forth, it's a hell of an experience. And it gives you a great relaxing feel before ultimately in 2 weeks after this event, probably one of the most stressful, intense, anxiety-ridden events that we have in professional golf in the Ryder Cup, where there's a lot of pride that goes into that. And track golfer, I do want to bring this up because I saw this and I'm like, this is actually a pretty good idea. Bryson should go caddy for someone if he wants to be part of the team. How funny would that be? And I don't know if the PGA Tour would have allowed it, but that would have been pretty impressive if somebody on the team was like, hey, caddy, take a week off. Bryson's going to caddy for me. And Bryson was actually game for going out there and caddying for one of his team members. I think that would actually build a lot of team camaraderie right there. And it would lead to some great content too, because he could film everything afterwards. Obviously, you can't do that at the event. PGA Tour bans that. But he could film everything afterwards and around the team and everything along those lines. I think that actually would have been a pretty good content idea.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, they could have. Well, yeah. I mean, we don't know. That's what's odd is that we like to envision these guys. Oh, we're on the same Ryder Cup team. Why don't we all get together and do like a 3-day retreat at such and such place?
Let's go do some ayahuasca in the jungles of Chile. And let's all bond with the spirits.
That's what's crazy is that so what they're gonna they had to have had something in the last 2 weeks where they all went to Bethpage and did whatever they're doing, depending on the weather. Obviously, it could have been terrible, but
we got Anthony Avila on for a Sacramento native.
Yeah.
He says that he'll be making it out to Napa this weekend, which is an unreal experience. I was always trying to get up there when Bobby Brown was a co-host on this show. He always was talking about that particular tournament and how it's just an absolute blast to go up there. So,
Yeah,
and again, I've been up there for wine tasting, but never been to this particular tournament, but I heard it's a blast. So, Anthony, we hope you have an awesome time out there and really enjoy this weekend. And hopefully you get to see some golf too.
yeah, exactly. Don't drink and drive. But yeah, it's
Can I pause for you for
please.
1 second as you say
Yes,
that, right?
absolutely.
So make sure to drink responsibly, 21 years and older. Johnny Walker is also a part of this episode with the collaboration with Devereux Golf. However, I'm going to say out in Napa, there are drivers that will drive your rental car for you and drive you from winery to winery. So this is not a pitch for them. They have not paid me anything for this. I'm just saying if you would like to have a good time and drink a lot of wine, which you're going to do if you go to the wineries and you're tasting, because you get absolutely lit up if you go to a couple different wineries, make sure to hire one of those gentlemen. They're absolutely great, or women. I don't know if there's any women that do it, but I had a nice gentleman several years ago who just literally drove us all the way around, dropped us off, and then hopped in his car and went home. It was absolutely incredible. So
perfect.
Little segue.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah. I mean, it's sad because like they've been tossing back and forth whether or not they should get rid of this event, and they've changed sponsors like 3 or 4 or 5 times, whatever it is. So
what is it now?
yeah.
It was Procore, right? And
Yeah,
then
I
it
think
was
it still is. It was
is it Procore?
It's Procore now, which I don't even know what that is. Fortinet was
the
yep,
one.
couple years. And then it was Safeway before that. Yeah, it's one of the best events. It used to be where we would host, we would get hosted for our rookie orientation and all that good stuff, which was a phenomenal time. But yeah, it's hopefully not going anywhere, but based on how things are going, I mean, they lost Vegas and stuff like that. So God knows how
I
that's
still can't
gonna work
believe that the Shriners is
so
gone
sad,
out of
dude.
Vegas. That was the best, man. I love that
It was
tournament.
my favorite. It's my second favorite event. by
Same.
far.
I mean, I am partial to the Waste Management Phoenix Open here in Arizona, but let's actually talk about your favorite 3 events. Let's go with top 3. And for me as a fan, right? Not as a player, but as a fan, Waste Management Phoenix Open. Actually, hang on a second. Let me reframe this, because I should go with just regular PGA Tour events, but I've been to the Masters. So yes, folks, the Masters is everything you think it is and more. I went 3 straight years, and I will just say this, that the Masters is an event unlike any other. There's just no comparison to anything else. It is everything that I would want out of a golf tournament and more. And yes, there are no birds at Augusta National, so I don't know how they do that, but there are no animals at all. Not even a chipmunk. So that's my little 2 cents there. So that's number 1. Number 2 would be the Waste Management Phoenix Open. And then my third, which I've been to a lot of PGA Tour events. I've been in, the Northeast at the Barclays. I've gone to numerous events. I will say this, and as my camera drops out for a second, my third favorite would be that Shriners in Las Vegas. I loved it. It was an absolute blast of a golf tournament. You could go up and watch your favorite players play, and a lot of guys would go out and play it. Like, there wasn't a whole lot that didn't go and play. So again, it's disappointing to see that. But what's your top 3 favorite tournaments? And you can do it from a fan perspective or from a player, since you got both worlds.
Yeah, I can't stand watching golf, so there's not really a time. But honestly, I've kind of a little caveat to it. I would say the U.S. Open as a player, but the one at LA Country Club was the worst as a fan. So best as a player, I was 5 minutes away. They paid me to be there. They pay every player at least $5,000, which is awesome. They give you a brand new Lexus SUV. They picked us up at the airport from Canada. Like, it was an unbelievable, like, if you're on the PGA Tour playing in the US Open, the US Open is a blast. But not my favorite. My most favorite event to play in is the Sony. Bar none. Like, it's not even close.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So for me personally, well, first of all, for a player, it's one of the best clubhouse presentations as far as food. The locker rooms are always really good. Practice facilities are fine. I don't really care about the practice facilities, but it's about the fact that you're in Hawaii and it's so calm. If you stay at the hotel that's 50 yards from the first tee, it's awesome. Um, and then second favorite was Vegas. Um, I love the golf course. They took such great care of us. Um, Even though they didn't quite have like they didn't give you a car for the week, like which was always weird. Like they didn't have like a you would think that in Vegas there would be some dealership that was like, yeah, we're going to give you a fleet of whatever. They
Lotus
didn't.
Elises.
Yeah, I'd take them. They're great now, but yeah, not back in the day. But yeah, and then a distant third would be Wells Fargo. Well, formerly known as the Wells Fargo, so it's the Truist now. They took great care of us. It's a small little tiny clubhouse, but it was a blast. Um, and it's the golf course is unmatched. So
There you go. That was a unrelated pivot. And it
we had time.
worked out nicely. Nice little segment there around our favorite golf tournaments from a fan perspective and from a player perspective. Love that for us. All right, let's keep this train moving. And I honestly, like, they did play Goat Hill. Have you ever played out there?
I haven't, but I played with about a dozen. I've seen about a dozen of their players that all played
Mini
either
Tour
Bear
golf?
Creek or this last event here. So I talked to a bunch of them. It was quite interesting.
I'll tell you what, it's funny because I've been doing the 5 a.m. comeback training and everything in preparation for next year's Grass League Open at the beginning of the year. And I will say this, like I always see the social media posts. Like Todd Dobson does a phenomenal job. They've got Paige Sporanic, who is now a part owner, I have read, in there, and she does some of the on-course commentary. And there's just a lot going on when it comes to their content that they're putting out there. And they're building out all these stories of these players. And some of these stories are phenomenal. Like, it is the grassroots league, in my opinion, of these phenomenal golf stories of guys that just didn't make it for whatever reason, right? Have tremendous amounts of game, but just didn't have the right platform in order to showcase it. And now they do with this. And I think it's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And of course, it was the Motor City. Hang on a second. It was the team with the purple hats.
It was the Detroit team, yeah.
Yeah, aren't they called the Motor City?
Something
automobile-esque. My bad. I will get up on this, but that's the funny thing. Like, I don't necessarily want to be an audience member for the Grass League. I want to be a player on it. So,
100%
like, that's where
why I don't watch golf.
Yeah, it's just to me, the PGA Tour is a thing on its own, and that's why I watch it a lot. And obviously the Ryder Cup and everything. I think we can all agree that even if you don't like watching golf, that the Ryder Cup is one that you're going to watch, right?
Yeah, President's Cup, Ryder Cup, I'm in.
It's kind of like soccer, where
100%.
the World Cup comes around,
everybody
and the
watches.
U.S. is playing in that, and all of a sudden, everybody in the United States that's a sports fan is going nuts at an Irish pub. Like,
yep,
it's just what happens. So same thing happens with the Ryder Cup. People that aren't even that interested in golf all of a sudden are USA. So we're going to be getting behind the U.S. team for sure with this. And it's been an interesting take from you around the European team, having that stronger team, as well as the fact that you think that the European team is going to take it this year on U.S. soil, which, my goodness gracious, if that happens,
Medina.
The story that could potentially come from that, can Tiger Woods be the savior to coach and captain the U.S. team on foreign soil?
No chance.
Just you wait. Just you wait.
I know it's coming, but it's no way it's
already.
Gonna happen. I'm sure. Yeah, that's one of the funniest things, right? Is like you think about everything that has happened with like you look at the players that are on the council for the board and you like kind of look at how they kind of get talked about and how they play and all this other stuff and you just wonder like, okay, so Xander, Colin, Trick, like got all these guys, you're kind of like, man, like, all right, like top players, whatever, like cool, like they should be just fine. And then all of a sudden, like they'll get into these events and they're just kind of like, yeah, okay, well, that's underwhelming.
Well, the U.S. was always like known as being the individualistic team, the team of
100%.
egos, the team of, hey,
Yep.
I'm the best individual player in the world, where the Europeans were always the band of brothers, the guys who really went to bat for each other and understood camaraderie and team golf. And that really hasn't changed that much, I don't think.
It's
Like
gotten
you kind of
worse.
still have, remember the pods? Were you too
Yes.
young for the pods?
Oh, I remember.
Yeah. When all of a sudden that was a brilliant idea. The US, we're going to have pods where you're going to have your little clique and you're just going to play with that clique in all 4
Terrible
days.
idea.
And all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, you just literally like you turned it into high school where you've got cliques of people within the same team that don't even hang
They
out.
don't even, yeah, they don't hang out. They don't like each other. They couldn't care less because they're not getting paid. Like that's what this all comes down to. They don't get paid. They don't care.
I mean, David Duval got a bad rap for his comments around the Ryder Cup. You know, Patrick Cantlay not wanting to wear the cap over there internationally because he wasn't being paid for it. Really made a stink about it. And then everybody's waving their caps. And then that led to Joe LaCava and Rory McIlroy's beef. So we've got a lot to look forward to with this Ryder Cup. The one negative that I will bring up here at the end. I don't love closing out shows with negatives, but the one negative thing, did you see the ticket prices for this Ryder Cup? Just outrageous.
I think we talked about this a few months ago.
We did.
Because
we touched on it.
And I think I almost I literally almost lost my mind. Actually, I'm pretty sure I actually did lose my mind and then I just didn't say anything. But wasn't it like I think the base was like in the thousands, wasn't it?
1,500 was kind of the starting main ticket, I guess.
In New York.
Well, and that's why, because they knew that they could sell the tickets to all these corporate groups and get corporate people out there. I mean, and it made it tough for the general fan to be able to afford and go out there and have a ball.
The New York, I mean, listen, I'm not a massive fan of any of the politics in the Northeast. However, the general blue-collar, hard New Yorker is not the type of person that's going to shut up when a European Tour player is going to hit. I mean, the Sergio Garcia, Bethpage Black, I think it was like 2002 or something like that, where he regripped 15 times and the guy says, all that for that, and he flips him off. You can't tell me that same gentleman is not still alive, I hope he is, and is going to be there on the first tee saying that exact same thing.
That's what made the U.S. Open so wild and amazing at Bethpage Black, was because you could go buy a ticket for an inexpensive amount of money to go to the U.S. Open. And by the way, Bethpage is a huge property, so you could fit so many people at Bethpage. I really hope that the fans show up and show out for the U.S. team in such a big way. But that also might have been part of their strategy in jacking up the ticket prices, hoping that it wouldn't get too rowdy. Because New Yorkers, we can get a little bit too rowdy at times. Same with Boston folks. So,
yeah.
We will see what ends up coming from the Ryder Cup. But nonetheless, as a guy who grew up in upstate New York and lived in the city, I will tell you what, now being out in Arizona, I'm looking at this Ryder Cup. And I'm a little bit shocked that a lot of people have talked about that have been to multiple Ryder Cups saying that it's the worst event to be in person. I was kicking myself about not buying a ticket or anything, but hearing that from multiple people that have been to several, like, been to majors, they've been to the Masters, they have been to several different types of events and will like travel from time to time to go to events. They all said because of the massive crowds at the Ryder Cup that it's very difficult to see. If all of a sudden you're in a good spot and you see one shot, guess what? Everybody's moving and you got to all of a sudden get to the next because there's only so many groups that are playing at a given time. So it's very difficult to get a good viewing experience. But for those of you that are going to the Ryder Cup at Bethpage, I hope you have an absolute blast. I hope you have an awesome time. And I want to thank, first of all, Brent, because you've been having a very busy schedule. You are getting ready for Q school, and you got a countdown going on. So make sure, folks, to go follow Mr. Brent Grant, and I believe it's Brent_Grant Golf. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. I think so. Let me just
on Instagram. Check. I believe that's it. I feel like I've tagged you enough in content.
Probably.
So, folks, go check out Brent's Instagram page. Keep up with his Instagram stories as he prepares for Q School. We hope you make it back, Brent, and we'll be having you back on, obviously, before then, hopefully. And until next time, folks, peace out. A-Town down.